Track life form. Priority 1. All other priorities rescinded. You can't. You still don't understand what you're dealing with, do you? Perfect organism. Its structural perfection is matched only by its hostility. I admire its purity. A survivor. Unclouded by conscience, remorse, or delusions of morality. Last word. I can't lie to you about your chances, but you have my sympathies.
October of 2024 will mark 10 years since the release of Alien Isolation. Now, the first Alien movie is my favorite movie of all time. So when this game was announced, I was ecstatic. Finally, we were getting a game based on the original Ridley Scott movie that has one alien who is a terrifying presence instead of one of many drones. Not only that, you got to play as Ripley. Not this Ripley. This Ripley. This is Amanda Ripley. This is Ellen Ripley's daughter, and Amanda Ripley was only mentioned once in the series, and it's only in the director's cut of the original Aliens movie. I consumed every piece of media I could for this game up to its release, and then it finally released. And the reviews were confusing to me at the time, and I was pretty bummed. This is a game that I was truly excited for based on an IP that I absolutely adore. And it was either awful or one of the best games of the year. And I was confused, not to mention terrified. I had just gotten over Aliens Colonial Marines, but I couldn't understand how could this game be so derisive. So like any informed consumer, I decided to ignore all the reviews and buy the game myself. And back then, I loved it. I was scared constantly. The game looked amazing and the atmosphere was oppressively tense. But my biggest problem with the game was that it was just so damn long. And there are some long stretches of this game where the alien isn't even around. But when I finally beat it, I settled with myself. This was a great game. But that was a long time ago. So let's see if Alien Isolation holds up 10 years later. The game starts with Amanda Ripley being offered to go on a mission with Weyland-Yutani to recover the Nostromo's flight recorder. It's on a soon-to-be defunct space station named Sevastopol, which is owned by a rival company named Siegs Incorporation.
It's about your mother. We think we may have found her, Amanda. A commercial vessel, the Anesidora, has recovered what we believe to be the flight recorder unit of the Nostromo.
Ripley, of course, accepts the mission because she needs to figure out what happened to her mother after she disappeared 15 years ago. You take control of Ripley as she awakens from hypersleep. Here, you'll meet her crewmates aboard the Torrens. There's a Weyland-Yutani synth named Samuels, Weyland-Yutani's lawyer, Taylor, and the captain of the Torrens itself, Verlaine. When they arrive to Sevastopol, they find the station is damaged, and the only thing they can receive is a garbled message for them.
SV7760 calling Sevastopol Traffic Control. We're carrying 3 passengers on a Weyland-Yutani bond. You're holding the Nostromo flight recorder unit. We request immediate permission to transfer the passengers portside over.
This Waits, Colonial Marshal, Sevastopol State, serious situation.
Hello, Marshal? Marshal, this is the Torrens. Say again?
Unable to dock, the crew decides to spacewalk over to board Sevastopol, while Verlaine pilots the Torrens. And like all things in the Alien franchise, this goes horribly wrong.
Doing good, Tim. Just keep moving.
Taylor Ripley, hold on!
Samuels! Taylor! Respond! Anybody! Okay.
Once inside, it's very obvious that something terrible has happened. The station is dark and it is destroyed. There's graffiti on the walls that tell the tale of an afraid population. And unable to contact the Taurans, Ripley presses on, using only her knowledge as a mechanic to make her way through the dying station. Along her way, she's held up by a man named Axel. Now Axel acts as this game's tutorial. He's going to show you how to sneak around because the other people on this station are not friendly to you.
What's the emergency? Someone else has been here. Everyone, stay alert. Keep your guns tight. Shoot anyone you don't know. Stick around while I check our stock.
It's everyone for themselves. He and Ripley try to sneak through a group of bandits to try and gain contact with the Taurans. And while they manage to escape the people hunting them, something worse is about to rear its head.
You killed that guy!
Because he was going to kill me, you saved my life. This is about survival. Do you understand? You hear something? I hear something.
Axel?
Fuck have I got on me?
Alright, now let's talk about something that is obvious to anybody watching this game. It is downright gorgeous.
The Taurans. I'm here. I'm right here. Verlaine!
It looks and sounds almost one-to-one with the original movie. Everything is just beautifully designed, retro sci-fi that is so boxy and chunky, and you combine that with the amazing lighting and awesome set design. And it sets a very distinctive tone of that 70s vision of the future gone to hell. Now you throw in the game's absolutely amazing sound design and its rendition of the original Alien soundtrack, and this game oozes with that isolating feeling of Ridley Scott's original film. Every piece of equipment is making some type of noise, whether it's a churning, crunching, random beeps and boops that crawl right into my ears and tickle the wrinkles of my brain, or if it's just the terrifying sounds of the alien just existing. This game oozes with style. And it makes sense why this game looks so good. In an interview with PC Gamer, the game's creative lead, Alistair Hope, talks about how they were given over 3 terabytes of the original movie's production material. The team deconstructed it and used it to build their own little corner of the Alien universe that feels like it's always been there. This attention to detail and great lighting in the game really help the game stand the test of time. The only time it falters in a big way is when you see the human models in the game. While they may look okay for their time, their facial animations and models can seem off today with their dead eyes and lack of facial animation. But there is one model in this game that looks downright gorgeous, and that is the model of the alien itself. Now let's talk about the star of this game, and the franchise in general, the XX-121 Xenomorph. Now, the Xenomorph is an iconic horror figure that has many different variations. Seriously, there are so many variations that it is ridiculous. Now, most variations of this classic monster are extremely dangerous, but they are not invulnerable. It isn't inconceivable that someone might take out a few Xenos before the swarm overwhelms them, but that is not the type of Xenomorph Creative Assembly decided to go with. Instead, they chose the original Alien. It is large, it is intimidating, and it hunts from the shadows as it picks off its prey in a brutal fashion. So it takes a little over an hour before you finally come face to face with this perfect organism. And then when it does appear, the moment lets you know you're up against a true monster. The introduction of the Xenomorph is simple and effective. Ripley shows true fear and horror as she's cowering away from it. The shot of its tail slowly moving past her leg sets the tension for what the encounters with the beast will feel like. From there on, the game becomes a cat and mouse game of you hiding from the alien. Any power you might have felt in encounters with humans is ripped away from you. This alien will haunt Ripley across Sevastopol as she completes her various objectives. And the worst part is, she cannot fight it. The alien is invulnerable in this game. While at times that can be immersion breaking, as shots of your revolver simply do nothing to it, it also adds tension to the game. Your choices are run and hide or be killed. Now, the Xenomorph does have audio cues that will clue you in on what it's doing. This version of the perfect organism is not as quiet as the one from the original Alien film. Anytime it's dropping down into your area, you'll hear a distinctive sound of it leaving the vents. And when it's patrolling that area, it also has a loud thud of it walking around to clue you in on when it is moving and about how close it is to you. You'll also get clear indicators on whether it has spotted you or not. If it just barely saw you, you might hear a hiss. If you hear a loud roaring noise, you've been made and it's time to boogie.
Hello there.
Though intimidating at first, the alien is not terribly hard to sneak around. There is ample cover in this game, as well as different rooms that have lockers to hide in or tables to crawl under. While these hiding spots don't mean you're inherently safe, they can hide you away until the Xenomorph decides to look elsewhere. But if you're not near a locker, random boxes and other pieces of cover which are liberally strewn throughout the environment are more than enough. At any time you can use the Alt key to lean, and when you're leaning in this game, it doesn't treat it like you've moved out of cover. So you can lean on over and stare at that big beautiful alien model to your heart's content. And on top of that, you are also given a motion tracker, which will track any moving thing within about a 90 feet or meter radius. This helps you pinpoint how many things are around you and the alien itself moving around in what direction if you're having trouble with the sound cues. Unfortunately, I did encounter a little glitch on one of my playthroughs where the motion tracker would not come up. If I held space to bring it up, nothing would happen. But when I got in lockers, I could see Ripley holding it, but I could not use it. And I had to go through the medical center level of the game just with no motion tracker. But glitch aside, once you get comfortable with the xenomorph being around, you'll be dodging and weaving that thing around singular boxes like they're nothing. Though, just because you cannot see it and it cannot see you doesn't mean you're safe. The xenomorph is always listening, and making too much sound can attract the xenomorph to your location even if it wasn't currently stalking you. Things like sprinting, fighting, or using gadgets are going to summon the xenomorph to hunt you down. So this gives every action in the game a non-numerical cost. Sure, you may have a clear path for sneaking if you dome someone with your wrench, but is it worth having the xenomorph drop down? Or better yet, you're just trying to get to a piece of cover before the alien comes. You could sprint and make it, but now the xenomorph's going to have an idea of where you are. Now these consequences may seem like they are punishing and debilitating in the game. Why do I have all these options if I'm just gonna be punished for using them? Well, you're not. It's just a cost, and it's up to you to use your resources effectively. Now, early on, I mentioned that there are humans that will attack Ripley on sight. Well, sneaking past 3 guards may be a little difficult and requires some well-timed stealthy movements. But that takes way too much time, and not to mention skill that I do not have. So it is way easier to send your pet xenomorph to clear the way for you, and just wait for him to leave. That's right, even the xenomorph can be used like a Pokemon to take care of your problems for you.
Who's that Pokemon?
It's Pikachu!
Perfect organism.
I actually named my xenomorph Jimmy. It gave us a real personal bond, and it gave me someone to yell at when he was being a But there is one more faction in this game that I've yet to speak about, and they may be one of the worst parts of this game. The Working Joes.
Hello? My name's Ripley, Amanda Ripley. I need your help.
Please take a seat. Someone will be with you shortly.
No wonder Seegson is losing the tech race.
Now, synths are an important part to the Alien franchise. Every mainline movie has one. They can be lovable sweetie pies like Bishop, absolute dicks like Ash, or genocidal maniacs like David. Those are all Weyland-Yutani synths though. Top of the line, indistinguishable from humans. Seegson Corporation, on the other hand, they have the we have synths at home variety of synthetic. They are pale white with glowing eyes and a robotic voice. And they're introduced in about the second hour of the game as a docile and unhelpful robots, until you learn that they're actually insane.
Let me pass. It's me, Hughes. Don't you recognize me? Listen to me. We've got to re-establish long-range communications.
You're becoming hysterical.
Get back! I'm warning you!
Tut, tut. Let's resolve this amicably.
Now, the synths work almost exactly like the human faction. They patrol a general area, but instead of trying to shoot you, they try to help you not be alive anymore. They're guided by the station's AI named Apollo, and the Working Joes are trying to eradicate any human they come across to suppress knowledge of the alien on board. They are definitely the easiest faction to sneak past because they're very predictable. They move in straight lines for the most part, and they don't really turn their head. Humans will twitch around because they're afraid, and the Xenomorph is actively hunting, so it's also looking around. But the Joes, they're just like me. They're going to do just enough work to not get yelled at. And even if they do spot you, they're not going to run. They're going to take a nice brisk walk toward you. And if you do get caught by one, your best chance is to just run. The synths are very, very durable, and they can take up to 4 to 5 headshots from the revolver before they go down. So for the most part, the best option with them is just to sneak around them. The only time the Joes are actually fun in the game is when the Xenomorph is also hunting you in an area that is inhabited by the Working Joes. Now, Xenomorphs do not care about synths, and in canon, they will only attack a synth if that synth has proved itself a threat. So while you're sneaking through a synth-occupied area, you may hear them remark about the alien. And the Joes will not attack the Xenomorph. They're only going to observe it, and the Xenomorph is also going to leave them alone. So that means Ripley, aka you, now have to sneak past both. And this leads to some very tense scenes, especially when you're locked in a room and just have to hide from both of them while you're waiting for a door to be unlocked. The Working Joes are just the worst faction when they are by themselves. Besides the initial creepy factor of those glowing eyes and the uncanny valleyness of them, they're dumb, and they're really more of a nuisance than they are any challenge. And there's an extended part of the game where you only have to deal with Working Joes and humans, and it is by far the worst part of the game. They lack that emergent gameplay that you get when you're dealing with the Xenomorph itself. So let's talk about that gameplay. I've already touched on the basics of the game. It is a survival horror game that is heavily focused on stealth, which was the style of the time. But unlike those streamer bait horror games, Alien Isolation made you fragile, but you were not defenseless. Most stealth-based horror games of the time will give you only 2 options: run and hide or die, and that is it. Now, while you will be doing a lot of both in this game, you'll also have tools that can aid you. Scattered around Sevastopol, Ripley can find blueprints for different devices that she can use to aid her in her journey. And these will range from simple items like medkits to restore your health, to pipe bombs for dealing with groups of enemies. But the most helpful items are the items that increase your chances of survival, like the Noisemaker. Do you remember when I said you could use the Xenomorph like your own personal Pokemon? Well, think of the Noisemaker as your Pokeball. One quick throw into the middle of a group of unsuspecting survivors will cause Jimmy to come down, and he will change their status from survivors to victims. There are other gadgets that are more offensive, like the pipe bomb, EMP, and the Molotov cocktails. These are the items that are going to get used the least throughout the game though, if you're any decent at sneaking, that is. And I'm pretty sure I only used the pipe bomb one time during a forced encounter with the Working Joes. Most of these have little to no effect on the alien. At best, it will temporarily stun it or make it flee. Normally, if you're going to be forced into combat, you're going to use one of the actual weapons the game gives you.
We got nukes, we got knives, sharp sticks.
There are 6 weapons in this game, and the first you find is the maintenance jack, which acts as your melee weapon. It's never really effective, but it's better than nothing if you're in a pinch. And then next you'll get the revolver. Now the revolver is less of a weapon in this game and more of a comfort item. It's something to hold to make you feel like you're not unarmed. Amanda Ripley is first and foremost a mechanic. She is not a soldier, so she is not terribly good with guns. To use the revolver, you have to aim by holding right click to bring up your crosshair. And as you aim, the crosshair is going to start to shrink as Ripley lines up her shot. This takes a second, which makes the revolver feel cumbersome to use in a hectic situation. Also, reloading it is a choice you have to make. It does not come with a speed loader. Ripley has to load each bullet individually while you hold the reload button the entire time. You can cancel the reload at any time by releasing the reload button for situations where you maybe only need a bullet or two real quick, but usually the revolver is going to be your last resort in any fight. The rest of the weapons are much more useful, not to mention effective. There's the shock baton that can be used to one-tap human enemies, but it comes at the cost of needing charges to use, and you need to be right on top of someone to hit them with it. It's very useful, but it's rare you find yourself that close to someone unless you're doing it on purpose.
You'll know how to fix the elevator. Okay, Francis out. Murderer!
The hell was that?
Then there are the guns that can actually pack a punch. The shotgun can stun the alien temporarily, but more importantly, it will put the synths down real nice and easy. And speaking of quickly deactivating the synths, my favorite gun in the game is the bolt thrower. All you have to do is sit at the end of a long hallway, charge it up by holding right click, and then press fire to send a railroad slug into the skull of any synth coming your way. This weapon is the closest to powerful you will feel in this game. And seeing as you don't get it until near the end, you will have a lot of pent-up frustrations to let out on these stupid milk bloods. But there is one weapon that is leagues ahead of the rest for its usefulness.
Let's hope this thing works. I hope you're right.
The flamethrower. Now, I don't know how useful this weapon is against synths or humans, and I do not give one shit. It is not for them. It is for that dumb son of a bitch Jimmy who has been chasing me all game. Now, the flamethrower cannot kill the alien, but it can make it fuck right off. The xenomorph hates fire, and a burst of flame can be the difference of life and an early trip to the last save point. Now, depending on when you shoot the flames at the alien, it may just turn tail and run, but if it's already got a running start at you, it's going to bowl you over and deal a little bit of damage before it runs away. But that is way better than dying. But be careful, you cannot rely on the flamethrower as a crutch for being bad at stealth. The alien will build up a tolerance to it, and it will start challenging you even after you've shot it with flames. It will slowly encroach on you to see if you're out of fuel before charging altogether. But while Ripley is not cowering or fighting for her life, She is exploring the station of Sevastopol to find her crewmates and find a way off this cursed space station.
Hello? Anyone here?
Ripley has to use her skills as a mechanic to navigate her way through this environment. You'll use your maintenance shack to unlock doors, you'll hack into terminals with a little hacking tool, and you'll cut through panels with a plasma torch. All of these things have their own little mini games. Now, some of them may just be hold the mouse buttons and left or right, to full-on match puzzles. And while none of these mini games are hard, they do take time and attention away from your surroundings, and they can become very tense when the alien is stomping around you. Nothing in this game pauses time other than the pause button itself. Whether it be any of these hacking mini games or opening doors, you are completely vulnerable, and this even applies to saving your game. Scattered around these stations are these little phone booths that Ripley will put a key card into, and it's got 3 lights that need to count down before you are allowed to save. And it will tell you if hostiles are around, because you can be attacked while you are saving. Every aspect of the gameplay really feeds back into the survival horror nature of the game, so that everything you do builds tension. Now, moving on to the story, there's not much of it that I want to spoil here, since there's not very much to spoil. Once you're past the intro, Ripley is mainly by herself, so the game can live up to its subtitle. At certain points, you will run into friendly survivors that are there really just to move the story along, but none of them have the screen time for you to really care about anyone. At best, you'll just find someone, have a minute or 2 of dialogue before you're sent on some type of task. You never get a chance to really know them or develop any connections. And it just makes any character death feel like there's no meaning other than a, oh damn, they dead type of moment. The real way the story is conveyed to you in this game is how it is done in any good survival horror game, and that is through audio and text logs. All of these logs are going to detail what life was like on the space station as it was starting to close up shop, and they also kind of show what happened as everything began to fall apart when the alien started its reign of terror.
There's something wrong with your synthetics. The team I requisitioned to acid strip lower habitation just stopped in their tracks. They brought something about a hazard containment order.
If you played any of the earlier Resident Evil games or the Dead Space games, you know exactly what you're getting here. But the biggest sin of this game isn't the story, it's how long it is. HowLongToBeat.com says that this game should run about 18.5 hours. That's a really long time. Now, luckily, I got through my playthrough in about 14-ish hours, but that still felt way too long. Now, I don't think 14 hours is a long time to be in a game, but with how poorly paced the latter half of the game is, it makes it feel excruciating. There is an extended section there where there is no xenomorph. You only have humans and synths to work with. And at this point in the game, you're pretty competent at dealing with all 3 types of enemies, and the only real threat is the alien. So while it's only humans and synths, the game feels like it's lost its spark. I mean, the best part about this section is it's where you get your hands on both the shotgun and the bolt gun, which will further trivialize those synth encounters. So not only are we missing the most exciting part of this game, we've now made every other part of the game easier. And this isn't a short section. It's about 3 hours of this game, but it does lead to the coolest part of the game. Now, this is the only big spoiler I'm going to give in this video. If you have not played this game and you do not want to be spoiled, this is your chance. Skip to the time code right here.
Oh no. God, no.
The alien nest is the best part of this game, bar none. It is the culmination of everything you've learned so far, and it introduces a new wrinkle into the equation: facehuggers and eggs. Facehuggers are not like the alien. They cannot be hidden from. They will chase you down, and you need to deal with them quickly before they attach to your face and instantly kill you. Now, this could mean a quick burst of flame from your flamethrower or a well-placed pistol shot. Either will deal with the problem, but both of them make noise, and there's consequences to making noise. And now the alien is ever present, and you will have to do things that require you to make noise and stand out in the open. It is an amazing sequence, and you can tell it informed the alien encounters for the rest of the game going forward. Yeah, you heard me right. This game continues after the nest sequence. Even though you've destroyed the nest, somehow the game keeps going on for another almost 3.5 hours. This should have been the peak of the game, followed by a climactic, heart-pounding rush towards the end. The game's pacing grinds to almost a halt as you're forced to go back to slowly sneaking around more synth and humans. Now granted, the alien encounters after the nest are some of the best in the game. The rest of it just feels like padding, and not to mention, after the pulse-pounding excitement that you feel in the alien nest, you're exhausted by this game. At least I was. Now, despite my complaints about the pacing in the latter half of this game, I still recommend it. It is a fun game, and if you are at all a fan of the original Alien movie, you will most likely love it. I still love it 10 years later. It's still a great game. Now, while some things don't hold up to the test of time, like the janky looking models with their dead eyes, the overall atmosphere and style of this game sings. And being hunted by the alien is never not tense. Now, to close this out, I kind of want to remind you, or inform you if you don't already know, that the Alien franchise has a very complicated history in both video games and movies. The movies went from these pop culture defining movies to films that felt like parodies of the original.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit that I have ever heard.
And the games, they range all over the place, from awesome first-person shooters to weird PS1 survival horror games to okay horde-based shooters, or just one of the most disappointing games in my entire life. Seriously, Colonial Marines, I'm still angry over 10 years later. Now, in terms of video games, I think Alien Isolation is the closest we've gotten to a true Alien game. I hope one day we can revisit this game and either get a sequel or a remake or just something like it. This game is special. This game understands what the Alien franchise is all about. It's about loneliness and horror. It's about not trusting any dark corner. So hopefully one day we'll see more Alien games like this. And we're also a couple weeks away from the release of Alien Romulus. So hopefully that movie is as good as the trailers make it seem. It can revive this franchise into what I think is one of the most powerful horror franchises to exist. Well guys, that's all for me. If you enjoyed the video, remember to leave a like down below. Also, if you want to see more videos like this, hit that subscribe button and also press the bell. Let me know what you think about Alien Isolation or just the Alien franchise in general down in the comments below. Seriously, I will look for any excuse to talk about this franchise. It is one of my favorite of all time. But that's all for me for now, guys. I hope you have a wonderful day. And if Alien Romulus is good, please, for the love of God, go see it and get that cool popcorn bucket. With all that said, love you guys. See you later.